garage doing some more work on the motor. Kind of all over the place the last few days, just kind of taking my time, tinkering. I'm getting into like weird little projects and things aren't going real fast, but they're going really good. But thought I'd give you guys an update where I'm at and then show you a few more little tricks. I think you guys seem to dig the little engine building hackery that I am sharing. So I'll show you what I got going on, and we'll do a little bit more work on this thing and see where we end up tonight. So I'll start with what I didn't film after I got the crank, pistons, rods, all that stuff in. I went ahead and disassembled the trans, tore it all down, and basically I'm just looking for imperfections, chunks missing, burrs, just junk. And transmissions on these things are really easy to go through. Just take your time and watch how it comes apart. Look for the bad stuff, but you can put it all back together if you're good. Or if everything's all good, I should say. I know you're good. But that's what we got going on there. So this is still just top case, middle case, trans and crank, and everything's good to go. We're going to go to the cylinder head next. You saw me checking quench with the modeling clay. And now I need to get the cylinder head on and get checking some more stuff. But I decided, first of all, we needed to clean this guy up. So I went through and cleaned all of the valves, and then, of course, I started polishing chambers, which I don't know why. I'm just really happy with how well the pistons held up after a whole season of running, just how clean they stayed, and I don't know. I just really like how that worked out. So I'm going to go ahead and polish the chambers up as well for the hell of it. And then I need to reassemble the head. We're going to check valve springs. I got a valve spring tester. I'll show you how I check valve spring pressures. I'll show you what this little guy is here, this little dial indicator and bracket. We'll get into that. Got the hardware for the head here. And what else I've been tinkering on? I think that's pretty much it. That's ready to go back together. That's getting there. We were watching a little TV while I was polishing chambers. Yeah, I think we're to the point where I just need to get that assembled, check, put the cams in, reset all of our valve lash, and then we can put on, check piston to valve clearance. We'll do all that business. But for now, I'll show you what I'm working on with what that is in the vise right there. So what I got going on here with my dial indicator, a piece of 1" by 1/8" thick aluminum with a couple ends bent on it with a couple holes in it. It just happens to be a little bit longer than the length of a valve, and I think you get the visual of what we're going for here. This is just my homemade quick reference valve runout indicator jig. Every time I pull the cylinder head apart, I just check the valves to make sure I didn't have any interference issues, over rev, something happened that we ended up whacking the valve and giving her a fresh angle that wasn't supposed to be there. But literally, this is just a reference tool. This is not super precision engineering here, but we'll be able to tell if there's a bend. All I'm doing is sticking the valve through them two holes, which are bigger than the diameter of the valve. The head of the valve on the back side has a taper to it, kind of cone shaped. That's what's going to center in the hole here. That'll go in there. Now on the back side, because the valve can still wiggle around in that bracket, I have a piece of a AN fitting where I cut the flare off and then drilled the inside diameter out to the diameter of the valve. Now all that's going to do is slide over the end of the valve, and that cone will center itself in that hole and hold the valve centered in the whole fixture. This here is a piece of aluminum hex that I don't know what it's from. I drilled the center out to the size of the valve stem. It's got a set screw in it. And this could be anything. If you just had a square piece of aluminum with a hole and a set screw, you could use that too. That just goes over the end of the valve. And then we just squeeze them together with our hands here to get the tapers, some firm pressure on both ends. Tighten down our set screw on the valve, and that's just what I'm going to use to turn the valve. We'll watch our dial indicator here. We'll go to 0. The actual number on the dial doesn't matter. The 0 is just for visual reference for you guys to kind of see better. As long as the needle isn't moving is what we're looking for. Now I'll just keep my finger on the valve just to keep pressure on it, because this is not, like I said, a precision sort of instrument here. This is just a garage hack quick reference kind of thing. Now all I'm going to do is turn the valve, and we're just watching for the needle to just do a big jump. If this thing got hit, it's going to move more than a half a thou. Actually, I'm already not on 0. Let's go back to where we were. There, that's 0. So I'm just spinning it real slow. That jump there was me bumping the setup. Bumping it again. We're good. So I'm just going to do that with every valve, and I'll keep spinning it and checking, re-zero, spin it, check it, re-zero, to confirm it's not bent. And like I said, if this thing took a hit, it's going to be bent more than a half a thou. So we know our valves are good. Quick little way to check stuff yourself without having to send things away or randomly have to buy something new you don't need. So I have already done all of the valves already. Those are all indicated good. We don't have any issues. That was just a quick way of me showing you kind of how I double check things without, like I said, try to be self-sufficient to a certain extent. You know, some things, I can't do everything. But if I can find a way to do something myself, I'm going to figure it out. And I think my way of just checking valves real quick like that is just fine. We go to lap valves in, it'll be the true test of whether there's any problems anywhere. But yeah, like I said, we're just looking for damage before we go reusing stuff. Another thing that's kind of been popping up a lot is people asking me about what I torque my main studs to, head studs, just what I'm torquing stuff to. And there's this misconception that just because you are running a good fastener, like you're running a good head stud, or you're running, these are more head studs over here, but your main studs, I even have transmission studs. There's a misconception that because you're running a better quality fastener, that you need to just totally increase the torque that they get tightened down to. That's not the case. Running good bolts doesn't mean you need to just torque everything down tighter. The purpose of good bolts is they will not fail as fast as a regular bolt, if that makes any sense. Every fastener has its breaking point. A good fastener has its own breaking point. Granted, it'll be higher, but its breaking point doesn't increase by you tightening the bolt tighter. All you're doing is creating extra fatigue on the fastener, and you're probably going to start causing distortion in threads. You're going to start squeezing main bores. You can start compressing stuff too tight. Over torquing is not the answer. Going to basically a standard torque spec and maybe just a slight bit higher just to get some preload on the parts themselves is really all you need to do. The point of a good fastener is it will not stretch. Well, everything stretches, but we're trying to work in the window of logic here, of practicality. Like a good head bolt, you don't need to torque it down to 100 foot-pounds. I run my head bolts 38 foot-pounds. They're right there. They've been on this motor for 12 years. I mean, that's the only set of head studs I've ever owned, and they've been in this motor. The secondary motor over there has another set of the same kind. You don't wear these things out if you treat them well. Over torquing just creates more problems. Within reason, you still have to get the stuff tight, but the consistency in your tightness is more important than the overall maximum number that you can achieve until stuff just starts crushing, deforming, and breaking. But that's all there is to it. Nothing is really over torqued much more than spec. Even the Carrillo rod bolts, they recommend using a stretch gauge. I don't have one of those. I just go by a torque spec. And right now the numbers slip in my head, but I know I'm only going slightly over what a factory rod bolt is torqued at. That way you're not deforming anything, and it's a preloaded fastener, and that's all it takes. It just means under the the up and down loads of everything trying to split themselves apart, that fastener has the ability to retain that before it would stretch like a factory bolt would, or a weaker bolt, I should say. Factory bolts are all pretty good. But that's what you gain with a better quality fastener, is you lose that rubberiness of a lower quality fastener. Everything stays clamped together firmer and more consistently. And it's not because you're torquing it tighter. It's because it physically cannot stretch within reason. Does that make sense? Fastener 101. And truth be told, with good fasteners, like good studs, I think my most favorite benefit of that is when you have a set of cases like I have that have been apart dozens of times, you're not constantly putting all that twisting, torquing force into the threads, the aluminum threads in the cases. You know, it just, they save wear and tear, and you just get longevity and consistency out of stuff. That's probably my most favorite part of having good fasteners, aside from, you know, their ability to keep things together firmer longer. You know, that's all good stuff too. Like I said, we're all over in this video. This chamber is just about done. I'm going to pull the valves out of this chamber and then start polishing that. If you can see that difference between the polished and the not polished. I'm liking how that's turning out. But this is what I need to focus on right now, is getting this head reassembled, and we can start putting everything on there. So slow and steady, we're whittling away here. I got 2 chambers polished up. I got the valves relapped in, going through, and I'm just checking. You know, we're not remachining here. We're just checking to make sure everything's good. We're going to get a good seal. This will be the next one to polish. I got the valves sitting over there. Everything's clean. We're not going for reassembly just yet. Everything's just clean and sitting in its proper location. It's just one of them nights. I'm just going to keep tinkering away here, getting some work done. And then I know I had mentioned about showing you how I check valve spring pressures. Showed you how I check runout. I put that stuff away because those valves are all done. But I think I'm going to wrap up this video. Going to work a little bit more tonight. You can see I'm kind of starting to organize and put things away, and that's how you know things are winding down for the evening. Motor's covered back up. Yeah, I'm starting to get things organized here. I'm getting a game plan going. But I think I'm just going to try to get that polishing done, lap the valves in. I'm going to call it an evening. Tomorrow I'll get going on checking for installed height, spring pressures, show you how I do that. We'll go from there. So thanks for hanging around and watching this mess of a video. Like I said, I've been all over the place in this one. Just a lot of stuff going on. And if I'm just getting, I'm too tired to really focus on something real kind of detail oriented, I'll go on to something else. As long as I'm awake, I can be working on something. How much energy I have decides what I actually work on. So that's why I'm kind of all over the place in this one. Just finding little things to do to keep moving forward, to hopefully, get this thing back together sooner than later. Yeah, I think tomorrow's going to be the big day to try to get the cylinder head done. And I'll try to film some of that and show you some of the things I don't normally video, just because I get in these, hurry up and get it done frame of mind. But I'll try to film some more of the stuff I do and just make sure things are right, and then peace of mind for when we go to start this thing. So hopefully we'll see you in the next day or two with some more cylinder head wrapping up, and we'll have a little bit more assembly done on the motor.